Hello all, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a model showcase video for this 1/35 scale M26A1 Pershing. Unlike the other smaller scale builds that you see in my video listings, in which those builds are built for private commission and belong to private collectors, this model that you see here is built for myself and belongs in my own personal collection and is not for sale and or purchase. However, I do offer commission build services from projects ranging from 1/35 scale all the way up to 1/6 scale. For availability and pricing information, that information would be best by contacting me direct through the EastCoastArmory.com website with the email address info@EastCoastArmory.com. The model that you see here is built mostly out of the box. However, it does feature several aftermarket components, as well as some other modifications that have been made to the kit in order to make it more accurate. We'll be going over these additions in this video. First, a quick walk around the model. The model started off as this 1990s vintage M26A1 Pershing kit from Dragon. The kit itself was purchased from a model show back in the late 1990s. For several years, the kit stayed in its unassembled state in the box until I needed it along with the Tamiya 1/16 scale full option M26 Pershing in order to use as builder's aids for my 1/6 scale T26E3 project. Both of those models can be found on my video listings. These kits came out in the mid-1990s and feature Dragon's typical type artwork of the period. The tank itself is replicating that for the Korean War, and also I believe it's for US Marine Corps due to the fact that there's a LVT in the background. While I was working on the 1/6 scale counterpart, I did partially assemble this vehicle here. However, once the 1/6 scale build was completed, this build was placed back in its box and put in a rear area of the shop due to other builds that needed to be completed. The tank sat in this condition for several years and collected some dust. Last week I decided to take the model, de-dust it, and complete the tank to the way you see it here. In the mid-1990s, Dragon, in addition to releasing this kit, also released a T26E3 Pershing along with an M46 patent. All of these kits, despite being over 20 years old, their detailing and their tooling have held up quite well with their age. The kits themselves, I believe, may have been re-released a few years ago, only this time Dragon has included some updated parts in order to keep the kits up to standards with the market. The kits feature rough cast texturing, welds, as well as other finely detailed components that are molded in. The kits assemble very easily and very quickly, and are highly recommended for intermediate modelers. Starting with the model suspension, the model utilizes a very finely detailed suspension and lower hull. All torsion bar, road wheel, and shock absorber detailing is present and is finely molded. One portion of the build, however, that I strongly recommend in swapping out is that of the tank's track. The tank's original track, like all DML kits of the period, is comprised of the individual link track. This style of track, in my opinion, is a weak point of the kit, as these tracks are very difficult to assemble and never really come out all that good. However, there are alternatives available. For this model here, I utilized a set of workable track links from AFV Club. The set here is the T84E1 track. These track links that you see here, I don't believe are in production anymore, and were acquired several years ago, shortly after I purchased the starter kit. However, workable track link options are available from such makers as Bronco, as well as Frulli Model. I believe that the DML re-release of these kits also utilize a flexible vinyl style track, as opposed to the original link track that was supplied with the kit when first released. The workable track links articulate well with the tank suspension and do articulate well with the tank sprocket. Track links themselves, once assembled, were painted, weathered, and then mounted to the model. Also, as of note, you can see that the shock absorbers have a little brush of silver on the top portions. These little exposed metal areas are found on the real vehicle and are a simple addition that, once added, really help the look of the model. This is true for all Pershing models from all different makers. This version, being the M26A1, differs from the other Dragon release in that the upper hull has a squared off front blower. The kit also features the turnbuckles on the fenders, which were commonplace on M26A1s. Features them on the front, the back, as well as the extra supports on the final drives. Also included with the Dragon kit is that of the dedicated exhaust, as opposed to the dual exhaust travel lock system, which was found on the T26E3. Since the travel lock is no longer mounted on the exhaust manifold, it was moved to the top deck. Also included with the Dragon kit is that of the A1's 90mm gun. The 90mm gun found on the M26A1 utilized the cut-down muzzle brake, as well as the addition of the bore evacuator. Dragon did a pretty thorough job in supplying you enough components to build the tank as an M26A1. However, they do have several other components included with the kit, which are carryovers from the earlier T26E3. A lot of these components are installed on the instructions as well as the model on the sample box, and unfortunately, if added to the vehicle, detract from the accuracy, as these components were not present on the M26A1. These components, however, are very easily avoided, and if not added, bring the tank's accuracy up a little bit. Starting with the turret, we have here the 2 points for the engine lift lugs. Like I mentioned in the other videos, the T26E3 had these elaborate little brackets that emerged from these two areas here, which would help with the removal of the engine and the power pack. However, on the M26A1, that system was deleted. Even though deleted though, the casting marks for the lugs were still in their place. The squares are integrally casted into the DML turret, which is great. However, by simply not gluing on the kit supply components for the lifting lugs, avoids an inaccuracy that can be made to your model. This is also true for the opposite side of the turret. On the Dragon turret, Dragon's T26E3 is that of a very initial pilot version in which there was an integral lift hook in this section here of the turret casting. There was originally a small blister in which a small little lift hook would be glued to it. This portion here was deleted way before the A1s came out. To make the tank more accurate, you simply don't glue on the little lift hook, and with a file or an X-Acto, you simply carve and sand away the molded in blister. Like all Pershing tanks, the M26A1 featured a spare track rack in this location here. Now, one quick tip to keep in mind on all M26s is that if you are building your tank with the rubber chevron style track that we have here, when it comes to mounting them to the spare track rack, you need to position them with the track faces pointed out along with the teeth. The reason for this is because of the extra thick rubber pad that's found on these style track. They would not have fit onto the track rack if put on in the opposite way. So for storage reasons, they had to mount them inverted. This little simple addition here is another way to increase the accuracy of your build. Another area to slightly modify that will help the look at the build is that of the spare 50 caliber storage panel. On the stock kit, this component here is simply molded solid without the center hole. Adding the center hole was a very simple procedure and was done with that of a Dremel and a small drill bit. The simple hole also greatly helps with the look of the build. Finally, the last place to watch out for on this Dragon kit is that of the kit supplied MP65 antenna bases. As you can see, they are very small and very finely molded. They are so small, in fact, that adding a full antenna is practically impossible. However, like I mentioned in one of my other videos, the MP65 antenna base was comprised out of two components. You had the porcelain insulator that we have on the bottom, and then the component that actually connects to the antenna was made out of flexible rubber. Adding this component was very simply made out of two pieces of cut wire. By adding the two stubby portions of cut wire, they're easier to glue on to the kit base and replicate the MP65 a lot more better than if you had the long wire that was missing the center portion of the rubber flexible section. As for painting, like on all of my builds, the porcelain itself is painted with a amber red color, which is then has a little drop of clear coat on to make it shine. The top portion of the flexible antenna mount is just painted with simple flat black paint. The final little area to watch out for on these M26A1s is that of the backup periscopes on the front bow of the tank. As you can see, there are two small little circles on this portion here of the armored hull casting. On the Dragon kit, there are two periscope inserts that get glued in from the underside of the upper hull. On the original T26E3, these would have been areas for the backup periscopes. However, when the M26A1s came out, the extra periscopes were deleted and these two plugs remained in their place. It's a simple modification to make to the Dragon kit. You simply glue on the kit supplied periscopes as the way the kit intended, and with a X-Acto, some sandpaper, and possibly even a Dremel, you simply just remove the molded and detailing. Once the molded and detailing is removed, the hull's accuracy is increased, and the tank better replicates that of an A1. And that concludes this model showcase video for this 1/35th scale M26A1 Pershing. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. And don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more smaller scale builds, as well as 1/6 and 1/16 scale builds and detail components. Thank you.